Hi, my name is Nikita Murphy, aka Pretty Red ENT. This is my culture self analysis. This is for my intro psych class, 445 Introduction to Multicultural Counseling, spring of 2024. This is my final piece. Yay, I'm so happy. So sit back. We're going to do my culture and what I identify as. Thank you. All right, guys. So this is about me, my race, my ethnicity, my nationality, background, um, and geographic information about me. So, what do I identify as my national background, racial group, and ethnicity identity? This this video right here explains it all because it's so funny. We were just having this conversation, especially on TikTok right now. It's really big for the Black Americans. We have everybody coming at us sideways, frontwards, backwards. So this is what I feel like needs to be explained. So this is from a movie called CB4. And so I was trying to be like, okay, how can I sum this up at once? Y'all know I like to do music and I like to add music to every slide. But this right here explains everything, how I'm feeling, how the Black community is feeling. So take a listen right here.
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm black. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black and you're black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black and you're black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blickety black, 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 I'm black, 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 y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, 'cause I'm.
So if you have not watched that movie, I suggest you go watch that movie. It's pretty funny. I want to say like CB4 is like it's a classic in the Black community of America. Like if you identify nationally as a Black American, you probably done seen this movie, and it's probably funny. Like everybody, it's funny. If you haven't watched it, I really think you should take your time out to watch it. It has Chris Rock in it. Like they really go in. It's really about some of the rappers from LA and Compton. But it's like a really good movie. It talks about a lot of issues, but you know how Black people do. We take the issues that people do to us and we make a joke about it. And this is a prime example. But we are Black, so I identify nationality background as Black. My racial group is Black, and my ethnicity is Black. And so when Black people say that you're not Black, like you might be Black, but you're not Black, this is what they mean. So, you know. My geographic region, there was a question that was asked. It says, the question was asked was, in geographic region, what geographic region were you reared? So I was like, reared sounds like something that comes from like you raise the animal and it's market. I have never heard that been asked for a human. So I was like, I kind of found that question to be kind of weird per se. So I was like, okay, I don't know how I feel about that. So I looked up the word reared because I was like, let me just double check it. And so the word rear means to breed and raise an animal for use of market. I'm not used for market, me or my family. So I find this a question to be very offensive. And most Black people, if they were to hear this question, they would be very offended too. People who identify with the Black culture, we're like, stop playing with us. Ask the right questions so that way we don't have to, you know. But if you're asking like what part of the region of where I came from, I am from the west side of the world, Turtle Island, better known as United States of America. I'm also from the Midwest area, if that makes sense. Says, are you a product of like a country area or an urban environment? I would say kind of like a mixture of both. Some people feel like Cincinnati is country. Cincinnati's more city-based, so I would have to say urban because there's a lot of buildings, houses close by. But my family farm that we own, it is like hours away from the main road, so it's a lot of country area. Like we own a lot of land, so I would say like a mixture of both, if that per se. But where I also grew up in, I guess you can kind of say it's like, how can I put it? You can say that it's like a particular, like it might be country based, but they have a lot of houses there. So I don't know. I mean, it was a small community, like the community I go to for the school, but our houses was a little bit more closer. We didn't have any like sand and sticker bugs. But yeah. So there is a question. So I posted this video up here about the Cherokee tribes of Carolina because my grandma always like, like we are tribal people. So here you go.
Just a little over 100 years ago, this is what Cherokee Indians look like in North Carolina. I don't know about you. That looks like a brother to me. Now keep in mind, this man is native to America, right? He would actually be technically classified as a Jew. That would then label him as God's people. Therefore, he would be owed some money. Fast forward in today's society, where this man was reclassed into a Negro, and I'm going to show you how they did it with this process of reclassifying Indians to Negroes. Have you ever heard of this man? Walter Ashby Plecker. This guy was the first register of vital statistics for the state of Virginia. Good old Walter. Let me tell you what he did. He had some pull. What he did was he classified citizens into two simple racial categories. That was white and color. All Mr. Walter could see was in black and white. Mr. Plecker didn't categorize any dark individual to color. Mr. Plecker pressured state agencies into reclassifying Indians as colored to wipe away the Indian legacy and their identity, so that way when Virginia Indians tried to get their money, they're denied. They're denied because now they're not classified as Indians, they're classified as colored folks. So basically, they found a way to reclassify native, indigenous, black people, God's people. They were able to reclassify them as if they were foreigners. And they were able to take their riches, take their land, right? The conquerors conquering the land and the people, right? Giving their traditions, right? And taking their lineage so that they cannot protect themselves. It's all right here. Virginia wasn't the only people doing this, reclassifying people, indigenous people, so that way their wealth, their legacy is given to what other race.
So that's basically saying, like, a lot of times, like, a lot of people, especially a lot of black people, were placed in, like, different areas. So, because, like, they moved us around, moved us in different places. So they kind of moved us from our habitat, meaning, like, they moved us probably from the area where we were coming from. So a lot of people, like, they probably are originally from Virginia might got moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Or people from California, black people from California probably got moved over to the east side, if that makes sense. So this is something I totally believe. This is what was told through my whole time in my family. I don't think a whole bunch of black people are going to make up something. Like, it doesn't make sense of why a lot of black people will say the things that they say, or their grandmothers and then will say that. So I don't know. But that is me. All right, guys, some fun facts about some of the people that are from Native America. I'm going to let the video play before I speak about it, but it is really fun facts. I'm a big TikTok influencer. If you know me, then you know that. I'm always up on trends, and I do a lot of research. And so to actually like hear this on a TikTok clip and actually listen to the podcast and actually click on the links that they sent, and I started doing like my own research, I was like, wow, this is not being talked about enough. Because then, like, what's going on? Like, what's really going on in the world nowadays? So, this is a great question. Like, where do some people, ancestors, come from? Especially for some Native American people. This is a good one.
Current Biology magazine released a scientific study that links the DNA of modern-day Native Americans to a group of people who used to live in the caves of Yunnan, China. The Red Deer Caves. Here is a photo depiction of what they look like.
Huh?
All right, so what is new about this information that is on top of the fact that, Native Americans crossed the Bering Strait?
Well, basically, it just says that there's a third group of people, not just Siberians, not just Central Asians, but people from essentially modern-day Southeast Asia, because, the Red Deer Caves that borders Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, they're the ones that became Native Americans.
Man, let's talk about this, David. I think there's a lot of identity questions that come into play, but also it's just kind of like funny information. So let's talk about this right now. If you guys are interested by this, please hit that like button and turn on your notification bells. David, what are like the main reactions that people had on the internet, like the different groups?
Okay, we had to go first to the Native American subreddit. Basically, they were like kind of rolling their eyes like, oh, great. They're just another thing to sort of like take us away from who we are, because, when the white man came and like killed us all or took our land, they were kind of like saying, oh, well, you guys never really belonged here anyway.
Right. And then now people are like joking about like, oh, what are they going to like call us Chinese now?
Right. What the Chinese are going to claim us. I don't want to be Chinese. I'm Native American. And by the way, I don't think this study invalidates their identity. I totally think they should feel free, and they rightfully should identify as Native American.
What are like some European, like British responses?
Some people are like, I think this is like quite, normal knowledge to me. I think we've known this for like 100 years. If you look at the Chinese and you look at a Native American, they look quite similar.
And I think it's pretty funny because British people, they're more familiar with like Europeans migrating to different places than even Americans are.
Yeah.
Because Americans are always like centered around like, oh, America's like the center of the world, but then British are like...
Like, he said something very interesting. He said more Europeans know where people have been displaced from and where they went. And he said, well, we've been doing this for like 100 years or so. Like, this is most of the British people responses. And it's like, it brings up a valid point when Black people are like, hey, we're from here. So, I got some other videos in here that's pretty good and controversial. But I really think that a lot of Native Americans should really look into this and like see what's really going on, because it's like really weird and awkward. But, So next it says, what values are typical of that region? I have a video, and we're going to talk about some of the things that's in this video. But this is like one of my top videos, guys, of... When this video came out, it was like, oh, I had this song on my phone. It plays anytime, like my phone, get a text message. Like, so it's really empowering, but it's not that
long. Black on black, black. Yeah. Hey. Okay, black on black, my thoughts so black on black, my skin is so black, I'm rocking that black on black is black. Rims on these black wheels in this black wheel with this black, so black on black on black on black on. Hey. Black out the coupe, hop out the roof when I run into you. Thoughts black as the dark side of the moon. Won't be no truce. At your funeral in an all black suit. Couple white girls working all black too. Me and your man marching on all black boots. Call up the truth. Put you in the mouth, then knock out your tooth. I can tell when they not telling the truth. Talking that shit, nigga, what you gon' do? What you gon' do? Back and I'm black and I'm acting brand new. Niggas in the back like, oh word. Diamonds all black like, what you heard? Spilling some Hennessy black on the curb. Just for the memory of the deceased. When I black out, I'll awaken the beast. What it's gon' be? You don't want with a dick like me. Bet you never seen my feet so black. I'm black on black on black on black on black. Black on black. Black my thoughts so black. Black on black. My skin is so black. I'm rocking that black on black is black. Rims on this black. Wheels on this black. Wheel with this black. Yeah, black on black on black on black on black on black. Black on black. Black my thoughts so black. Black on black. My skin is so black. I'm rocking that black on black is black. Rims on this black. Wheels in this black. Wheel with this black. Yeah, black so black on black on black. I feel like Trayvon with this black hoodie on. Huey P. Newton, Black Revolution. I'm with a Nubian queen and some illegal aliens. I got a black fist barred up, and it ain't just me, it's all us. 400 years of oppression, I'm about to give me that black Tesla. Black skid marks on the pavement, cops wanna see me in a black cage. Black on black on black, Master Juba with the tap dance. Gucci with the dapper Dan, tell him kiss my black ass. Riding on a dino with the black mags. Just another black man trying to stay about the casket. Yeah, black don't crack, matter of fact, where the fuck are 40 acres at? We black on black on black on black on black. Black on black, black my thoughts so black on black, my skin is so black, I'm rocking that black on black is black. Rims on these black, wheels in this black, wheel with this black, yeah, so black on black on black on black on.
band play because it got Whitney and Bobby. And so, like, you got, like, this is a classic moment that the values. And Whitney and Bobby explain some of the values. But I like it, but it's like, I love black people. Like, we do everything. We take it and make it extra. And that's so black. I'm black and all black. Everything is black. Rims on these black wheels.
Excuse me?
Black History Month. We need a longer month.
Black History Month? We need the whole year.
We need a longer
Black
month.
History Year. How about Black History Year for 1 year?
Yeah.
Out of every 2 years. We need 1 year Black History Year.
All right.
So that song is on YouTube. That song is very popular in the black community. So some of the things that they value that I feel like is valued in the region, in Turtle Island, United States, across the black culture is like when someone dies, we pour out some liquor for them. And if you see in that video, the young man pulled out liquor. We value people that work. And you can see like all the different type of things like they're doing with working. Like the bus thing that was in there, that was pretty fun. I liked it, the dance moves. We value dancing and music. Now the way how they were particularly clapping their hands, like that right there is a black church thing. You're only going to hear that clap in a black church. I mean, not saying that you won't hear it in a white church, but the way how they clap off, like the way how they add the claps in there is something that black people do. That's actually a Geechee tribe thing. So, you know, I really value the fact that like, you know, like they took in and they did the things that we value as a black culture and put it in a video. And so that's the reason why I showed the videos for that reason. But this is a typical thing that all black people value over our culture. Now, the ancestors. It says, where did my ancestors come from? My ancestors are from here. My ancestors, I don't have a family member that said that we came from Africa. None of my great-great-great-great-great-grandmas said we came from Africa. All my family traces back to here, even before Christopher Columbus. So it's really, I don't know what narrative they want to tell, but it's really offensive. So I will also say, it says, why and how did your ancestors come to America? My grandma told me that she's like, well, we're a little bit from everywhere. And then once I did my research, like, we're from everywhere in the United States. We're not just one particular place. Geechee tribe people, they're from everywhere. Like, if you actually know how the Geechee tribe dispersed and where we went to, you understand, like, we're in Mexico right now. We're in Canada. We're also here in the United States. But my ancestors, we come from here. Like, we're from the Midwest. We're from Louisiana. We're from Texas. We're from Virginia. We're from Florida. We're from Atlanta. We're from Mississippi. We're from Alabama. We're from Cali. So my family is everywhere, literally. Like, my great-grandma had 16 kids. So, yeah. And her mom had, like, I think, like 10 or 8 kids. So, like, my family is, like, huge, no matter which way you go. So, it says, why and how did your ancestors come to the United States? I would say that we were already here. That's my answer to that. I don't believe we came over no slave boats. They have no proof of these slave boats besides some damn pictures. And it's like, we're tired of this narrative. There's no way this happened in history. There's literally no proof. And the proof that they do have, I have a video for that towards the end of this. So, but for my Geechee people, why I say, like, my family being Geechee, what I was taught that we were from here, we were never from Africa, and this man kind of proves that, and that's crazy because there's two different Geechee tribes. There's Gullah Geechee and there's Geechee. They're both the same tribe, but a little bit different. But let's take a look at this video.
Oh, baby, we got another one. This time, the Gullah Geechee. There's been a huge misconception on our planet today that the Gullah Geechee come from Africa. These people even got some of the Gullah Geechee's descendants today thinking that that story is true. And we all know what I'm about to do. This is the Gullah Geechee. And as you can see here, the Gullah Geechee have a rich history in these lands. but due to colonization, their rich history and antiquity has been erased. Because as you can see here, how could the Gullah Geechee people be from Africa when they're named after the Ogeechee River? As you can see here, it says the Ogeechee River is about 11,500 years old, with Paleo-Indian societies arriving in the area around that time. Archaeological artifacts indicate that humans have inhabited the area for at least 10,000 to 12,000 years. I'm sensing a few discrepancies. Because as you can see here, it says the Ogeechee River drains into the Atlantic Ocean. For anybody who doesn't know, the Atlantic Ocean is a saltwater body of water. And as you can see here, the Ogeechee River is a freshwater river. And as you can see here, that freshwater river happens to start from a freshwater spring in North America. And as you can see here, that river services a lot of agriculture around that area. So I don't know why you would be calling anybody African American when Africa don't got nothing that looks like this. And Africa didn't even see wild rice until after 1492. As you can see here in this receipt. So were the Gullah Geechee named after the Ogeechee River, or was the Ogeechee River named after the Gullah Geechee? Because it's very obvious that someone created that river, and it sounds like it's the Geechee. Put some respect on their name. Peace to the gods and the goddess of this universe.
And what's so crazy about this is that what was told from my great grandparents and passed down, and everything that this man is saying is true. Like it's told in our family. So to actually like hear the information come out loud, I'm like, wow, like that's crazy, because that means that my grandma and them didn't lie, but not saying that they are liars. Like, because I can't believe other people over my family members. Like, I just can't do that because other people don't do that for themselves. So why do Black people have to do that? And that's the question that we're asking now. Like, but when you're talking to people that have been over here for a very long time and different stuff like that, I remember this lady said that, nah, them Geechee tribe members, I don't mess with them because we don't know where they came from. And it's really scary because like they just, but we always been here. And my great grandma used to say something about like a river that is ours. Like this is our proof that we were here already. And this is that right here. So I just thought I should share because that's my ancestors. That's my story. So another additional, to back up what I was saying about why would a lot of Black people be saying the same exact thing about where they're from, who they are, and different things like that. If this isn't true, then why would this be a thing? So take a listen.
My grandmother told us that we are Cherokee Indians from North Carolina. White people told me that we're West Africans. My foremother said we're from right here. Colonizers told me we're from over there. My elders said we're indigenous to this land. Our conquerors told us we got here on a boat. And I know I'm not the only one. As a Black American, I'm sure someone in your family, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-great-grandmother, they probably told y'all that y'all was Indians. Y'all won't believe shit, because Black people always lying. And that's a shame that y'all don't respect oral history from your own elders. But in my brain, this is what it comes down to. Who are you going to believe? Your own people or the people that did it to your people? Me, I'm going to choose to believe my grandmother. I'm going to choose to believe my foremother, my elder. And I choose to believe y'all elders and y'all foremothers. And I get it. I'm a Gen Zer. I had the same education as y'all, bro. I went to school just like y'all. I got the same history, the same story. And she said, I don't believe it. And because my grandma said that's not true. So I believe my grandma. And I'm also doing the genealogy research. I'm following paper trails. I'm building a family tree. 1900s, 1800s. Some of my trees go up into the 1700s. But yeah, our grandmothers and our foremothers have told us that we're Indian. How many of your grandmothers and foremothers told y'all that y'all were African? My grandmother said we were Indian. She ain't said nothing about being African. So again, grandma said we Indian, so that's who we are, goddammit. That's who I am.
So there's a few, I'm gonna probably move this over, but there's a clip here that I posted about African Americans that is dated from a newspaper. This is kind of touching because I don't know where this African American study came from. I feel like some of the information I have did research on when I came to I want to know more about me. I want to know about my culture. I'm tired of this narrative that they're feeding us. It's lies. I can feel it in my bones that it's lies. So, I don't know, my grandma now, she always said that we was Indian, we was Blackfoot Cherokee. So I don't know why that would be any difference. The only thing that I can say, it's a form of disrespect when a group of people, but people in Africa also said that we're not from Africa too. So that kind of concerns me that they don't know that Black people was here or we even existed until they get here, and then they hear mass different stories. It's well, we have no record of that. And so when we start looking in Africa and seeing where's the record where there was a whole bunch of slaves taken in, there's none. So it comes down to think about what was really going on, and it makes you question the things that they taught you in school, which some things that people teach you are false. And we have to admit that, just like how they taught Christopher Columbus was some savior when I was in school, but now they're teaching that he was actually a rapist and a murderer, which he killed my ancestors. So I kind of care about that. So, but it's true. So time will reveal, time will tell everything. And I'm glad that the truth is now coming out. So this is how I feel about that. All right, so here we have the question was asked, what impact does this way of entering the United States and the adjustments have on your culture or your identity? I would say that we were already here, so we don't have any impact. I feel like the impact that we had was getting displaced from where we were, our homes and houses being torn down, burned, them killing our ancestors and trying to erase our history and create a whole new history for us was horrible. I have a video for that later in the slides. But the most thing I would say is we're tired of a narrative where people attack Black Americans and we're just leave us alone. That's all we ever ask for, is just leave us alone. We still act this way to this day compared to the people that they talk about that happened in history. Black people kind of mimic that. So, let's take a look to what is being talked about.
I need to know, are there certain Black people that just don't like us because we're white?
We live in a country that enslaved Black people never paid for, and y'all be asking questions like this. Meanwhile, the same government who okayed this shit determine the curriculum in school, and they decide they gonna show slave movies to Black people while they sit next to people who look just like you. Like Muhammad Ali said, though, every line gonna try to attack people. Who gonna be dumb enough to wait for the one that's not? You got Karens on every corner. You got the cops trying to shoot kids any chance they get. You got the KKK that the government does nothing about. You have the government who not putting in no bills to protect Black people from all this racist bullshit. So when you ask this question, it's just laughable. I believe most of the country is not racist, but I know for a fact that most of the country don't mind accepting the benefits of racism, so it don't really matter to people like us. This country is so money hungry, it enslaved Black people for over 400 years and never paid for it. And every time they talk about reparations, they so greedy, they think we more concerned about getting money. But in reality, when you admit that you're wrong, that is how you correct your behavior. But because they don't want to admit they're wrong, they let us know they want to keep their racism going. This is what the country is built off of. When you hear people say "Make America Great Again" and white people have always been in control of it, what they mean is get their slaves back. That was the only time they can say whatever they want and do whatever they wanted to us, and nobody would dare question it. But now all these woke people are starting to get on their nerves. To say "Make America Great Again" is delusional anyways. In a country that was built with no integrity, off of the backs of slaves, all of the evil that was done, and they documented it, so it's not just me saying this. We had to go to school to study, so I know what I'm talking about. The same country that has not taken a break from their evil to the life that was created by God will lie to themselves and say, God bless America. The fucking bullshit we gotta deal with. Subscribe to my YouTube, Planet Reality.
And it's all we be saying, for real. Like, just leave us alone. Like, at some point, you don't want to admit that you were wrong, so I feel like the way that this has impacted our culture is that white people don't admit that they were wrong about racism and killing our people and actually displacing our people and moving them to different countries, continents, different areas of the world. How are we going to ever grow if you don't want to admit that you did wrong? There's so much proof. You act like we can't read, but we can. So when black people do educate themselves, they do read, and we're like, oh, well, we were taught this, and this isn't true. But our grandma said the same thing that we're reading, and then it's like, okay, so now we have to acknowledge what was said. So I feel like that's the biggest impact what that young man is saying. But then we also have those conversations where white people come and attack black people, like, well, why don't you like us? Is there certain black people that don't like white people? That was a dumb question. We just really want to be left alone, if that makes sense, from the black community. So, all right. So next slide we have here. We have religion and spirituality. What was your religious affiliation, if any, during your childhood? I grew up Hebrew. It's really weird. Like, I wasn't a Hebrew Israelite, but I didn't know about Israelites. I think my grandma, I don't know if he was one or not, but I did grow up Hebrew. My grandma was the pastor of my church. I actually had a bar mitzvah, all that, like anything that Jewish people went through. I know how to speak Hebrew. It's kind of like my natural language. It's like really, if black people was to learn Hebrew, I bet they will know it. And psychology even teaches that ancestral DNA is passed down. And I bet if a lot of black people was to learn that, the language, I bet we just learn it and it comes easier to us compared to like different languages that we're not from. So I really like that. I also grew up like, I just grew up Hebrew. My grandma died at the age of 13, and I was supposed to get baptized, but I didn't because she died. And then we went to a Baptist church with my uncle, and that's when I learned about, I already knew about Jesus because my grandma, she taught us about Jesus in the Hebrew people. But how did this come to be in your family? Well, my grandma, like my mom, but most of my family, I feel like most of my family, I don't know how to explain it besides saying like my family don't really tie themselves to Christianity. They'd be like, I believe in Jesus. But if you used to ask them if they were Christian, they would say no. But a lot of times, a lot of black people, what we really believe in, we were not allowed to come out and express it anyways. So what we did was, it's hidden what we do. It's kind of like the thing about Harriet Tubman, how she was and different things like that. And like our richness and what we are into. It's what I can say without saying it in a mean way, but I will say that my family's just, they believe in Jesus, but they have they might go to church and stuff like that, but they don't identify with the Christianity movement. I guess my grandma was like, they don't like how they made a religion off of some woman child dying. So, but I have a song that kind of ties into what I'm talking about Jews. So the Spiritualists was a movement. My family was a part of that movement, and certain songs. And if you know anything about the Spiritualists, you know that some of the songs the Spiritualists created was to help to free slaves. But black people always have a habit of creating their own thing. And it's like, prime example when we have the word like nigger, and then like how we make it to the word nigga. And it's like, okay, we kind of made fun of white people making fun of us, but we kind of like the word. So we end up liking the word to make them, it's really to make the white people feel mad. Like, you created a word, now we create another word, and you can't say it because we have a problem with you saying it because you have used it in a way where it was very offensive to our culture. So kind of like that. Like, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Like, when I say like I love black people, like, and the things that we do, it's an amazing movement. Like, it's what a time to be alive during black culture. But prime example that you can use is the word bitch. There's a song called Megan Thee Stallion. Back in the day, you weren't allowed to use that word. It was very mean. But Megan Thee Stallion, the younger people, we have made this word to be acceptable. So this is something like about the black community. Like, we take stuff that really hurt us and make a funny joke and make mockery of the people that made it about us, and we make it like ha ha hee hee. So it's kind of like a laughter thing to like kind of spit in their face more so. But that's a coping mechanism that we as a black community do that we probably need to work on. But Megan Thee Stallion says in the song, she's like, I'd rather for you to call me a bitch, because when you get mad, that's what you're gonna call me anyways. So I'd rather be this than I'd rather for you to call me this now than to call me this later. So I think this is kind of an expression. So there's a song I want to play that is for religion and spirituality. This song's called Wade in the Water. It's by African American spiritualists, but it's by spiritualists. Okay, it's by my family. If you know why they made this song, like, it makes sense, and it's about Cincinnati's ways in their water. So, all right, but this song here goes into details about something I want you to pay attention to. Must be the children that Moses led. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water. Children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Who's that yonder dressed in white? Wade in the water. Must be the children of the Israelites. Now, she said it must be the children of the Israelites. So, I don't know what Israelites. It's crazy because growing up as a Israelite, and then I had a culture shock where I went to college a few years ago. When I came back to college, I went to Cincinnati State, and a teacher, I guess she was Jewish, because there's a difference between being a Jew and a Jewish. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, you grew up Hebrew? She's like, yeah. I was like, I did too. Like, oh my gosh. Like, we might be cousins. And she's like, no, we're not. Black people can never be Jews. We can never be Jewish. And I was like, oh, excuse me. But it was such a culture shock to me because I have never grew up and seen a white Jewish person ever until I turned, like, 33, 34. So I was like kind of at shock to see this. I had like a religion culture shock at the same moment. So it was really amazing to see that. But why would that be in a black song? The Israelites. And then some of the things that black people make jokes about, like example, like if a black person is like working hours, this is a known joke in the black community, is, oh, you over there working like a Hebrew slave. Like, what? Like, but this is a thing. And the only people that were really slaves for real were black people in America. So, I'm not saying that there's other peoples, because there was Haiti slaves, there was Haitian slaves, and there were Barbados slaves. So, and Jamaican slaves. So I gotta say that because some of my family, they do come from Louisiana. So, like, I do know the story about that. That is an actual true statement with that Atlanta trade slave. But, like, this is about religion. This part is. But I do think, like, that's kind of crazy that happened. Like, why would this be in a song? Like, our ancestors always sent messages and and instill things so that way we would know. But why is this a joke in the Black community? And it's not a joke like we're making fun of somebody else. Like, we're really saying this like, oh, you're a Hebrew slave. Like, you are Hebrew. Like, we're not saying that, oh, we're talking about somebody else of a different color, like white people. We're talking about Black people. So I feel like that joke is a joke that's being told. But it's like every joke that Black people do, like the N-word. So here's Glow on Pageant holidays. Glorilla is a rapper, American rapper, if you don't know, but she got some insight. Little baby girl got some insight. The only thing she don't have insight on is St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is where this white man, St. Patrick's, went around killing all the Black people. But continue.
No Christmas. No Easter.
No Easter.
No.
No Valentine.
No Valentine.
Halloween.
No Halloween.
St. Patrick's Day.
I mean, she never cared about the holiday. Like, is that a holiday everybody really be caring about?
They be getting towed up.
Because they be pinching you when you don't got no green?
Yeah. Well, it's not that. It's a big Irish holiday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not none you just celebrate like how Christmas and Thanksgiving is.
So, how old were you when you got your first gift? Because if you didn't celebrate, what about birthdays?
Oh, yeah, birthdays.
So you got gifts for birthdays?
It was really, basically, it was Christmas and Easter, because my mama say that those are pagan holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, Christmas is somewhere in the Bible. Like, my mama know the Bible from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhere in there where Christmas, like, Jesus was born on December 25th. It's made up.
Right.
And it's the people just made up to talk about Jesus.
Right.
And Resurrection Day is not the day he got rose on. In real life, but it's just those holidays are man-made.
Oh, okay.
And it's against the Bible against it somehow, somewhere it's pagan holiday.
Okay.
And yeah, so we can celebrate them.
So help me out.
Nimrod is who you really celebrating on the 25th day of December. You're not celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. And if you are, you're making a mockery of it. You drink more alcohol on his birthday than any other day in the year. And you've turned the so-called birthday of Jesus Christ into a commercial feast of foolishness. Santa Claus has knocked Jesus out of the top spot. And the merchants who don't even believe in Jesus are busy selling you foolishness, making themselves rich and you poor for another year on the basis of a lie. And that's why they call it Xmas. Because you don't know who it is that you are worshiping. Where did you get this Christmas tree from? What does that have to do with Jesus Christ? And in all your churches you have this big tree. Look at what Jeremiah the prophet says. It warns you not to follow the way of the heathens. For the heathens go in the forest and they cut down a tree. And they fasten it down and they deck it with silver and gold. Ain't that what you do? And when you try to tell the Christians that this is a heathen practice, they say, well, I don't care. My father did it, my mother did it, I'm gonna still do it. And you paying $10, $20, $30 for a tree. And then the tree dries up and burn you up in the house with your foolish self. Con Edison can't wait till Christmas comes to con you out of some more money with your lights burning. Who made up this lie and forced it on the church?
That is very interesting, but I was always told that Jesus was born in April. I grew up Hebrew, so it was like really weird to see certain things, but it only makes sense a little bit because the Passover is in April. But you know, so religion and spirituality, how are conflicts due to religion values resolved? I feel like we as a Black community, we take very good care of things that, like, when we're talking about different stuff, like, we really love on each other and make sure that we know the truth and the facts and the ways. So I feel like conflicts in America, like, in the Black culture, like when it comes to religion, I feel like we don't do what white people do. Like, we're not going to judge you. We do not care. We just really care about surviving and living, and that's just our basic thing. I feel like my family, when it comes to like my family with this, they really are relaxed. Like I think like we all have our own little particular way. No matter what you practice and preach, it all can be the same. Just don't dispute somebody else's belief. And I think that's the basic thing even that Jesus was teaching. Like you can't stop judging people. What do you think this religion preference reflects about your heritage and culture? So, I was always told that Jesus was black. And so to actually see that people think that Jesus is white and that Hebrew people are white, it's really concerning to me. Even though I grew up pre-Hebrew and my grandma, you know, they believe in Yahweh Yahshua, the HaMashiach is God in Jesus. Like this is weird. So I'm in a culture shock right now and religion shock. But I always knew that Jesus was black. My granny told me that Jesus was black. My grandma, that was Hebrew. So I always knew that Hebrew people were black because I thought I was Hebrew. So I don't know. But, you know, here we go. So take a listen to this. This is Russia. My friend's from Russia. She's like, this is true. They actually had somebody come in and study the paint. All the paintings come back from that time of era. So everything that you're going to see in this video is actually a fact.
While you were distracted last week about that social media ban, let me show you what was really going on. Because they know if you could get your hands on this information here, you'll tell them.
Russia has opened its cellars to reveal remarkable paintings of Jesus dating back to the 1400s. Have you ever seen or heard of biblical icons where Jesus or the Virgin Mary have dark skin? Or even Abraham or King David? Then look beyond Europe. Russia has opened its vaults to reveal biblical icons featuring darker-skinned figures. In case this is making you wonder if Russia has its own twist on biblical figures, the answer is a no. This is not the case at all. This is, a matter of fact, as real as the untouched horizon of time. These icons aren't just artistic anomalies. These hold deep meanings of hidden shaded truths, sparking serious curious questions about history and faith, representation, and the unexpected corners of religious art. Pay close attention, amazing people. You are just about to hear it today, like it is, in this video. In the Bible that the Americans turned white when they told the stories to us. But Russians didn't get the memo, they went off for real history. Songs of Solomon. USA is also a great deceiver, and so many people inherit the wrong lesson from their great-grandparents and their parents, to the point where it's so deep that the lie is made true when the real answer is really just right there. But you never look, because why would you?
Angelo in Rome is currently hosting an exhibition of 40 Russian icons that have left their country for the first time. They are pieces of art that were hidden after the October Revolution of 1917 in order to protect them from anti-religious destruction.
There's been so much debate going on around the world of late, bestirred by the unveiling of these black biblical icons. Some tend to think that the icons had blackened over time due to age, while others say that the blackness of the icons has nothing to do with age, but are a measure of accuracy meant to depict the actual color of the skins of the people painted.
So my friend said they had somebody come over there to like study the art, and I study art, and that painting and that the way how that art stuff is set up, it's true. Like Jesus is black, but we all knew that it says it in the Bible, so I'm not dumb. So for people, I don't know what's going on, but this is my opinion. But for Putin to put this out, like he's really mad at America, it kind of sounds like, hey, look, you're not doing what I want you to do. You keep interfering in my affairs, and so let me interfere in yours. And I have this vault with your stuff in there that can cause a controversy in your land. And this is what he produced. So, totally 100%. So this is how I feel about Jesus. Jesus is black. I always knew he was black. The Bible says he's black. I don't know what people feel like it is, but to me it doesn't really matter his color of his skin. It matters about his story, but some people take it serious than what it's supposed to be. Next is, what is your religion's spiritual affiliation? Now, I would say I'm more spiritual based. I'm kind of like my family a little bit. Like we're kind of just, I believe in Jesus and I'm just spiritual, but I'm also about a love and light. I'm a love and light worker. That's why I have that love sign and light, because I'm a love and light worker. Like I'm one of them people that be like Grand Rising and not Good Morning. My grandma always told me to never say good morning to a person because this is very horrible, especially so when you say it to black people, because white people used to make fun of us when we grieved our ancestors, when they killed our ancestors at nighttime. And then for this girl to come up here with facts, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my great grandma said this. Like, this is crazy, because my grandma, she lived during segregation. My grandma's still alive. So my grandma lived during segregation and desegregation. So, and it says, if it has changed and how did this transformation happen? I'll answer that in a second. But I want you to understand, like, the original word of good morning, what it meant.
Did you know that the term good morning was originated when our ancestors were being held as captives during so-called slavery? Slave owners, after spending all night torturing, murdering, and kidnapping their loved ones, would greet them at sunrise with, "Did you have a good morning?" That was their way of mocking us, because they knew that we had just spent all night crying and mourning the loss of our loved ones. When you look this information up online, you see a bunch of articles and even videos made by our own people gaslighting and claiming that this information isn't true. But some simple etymology research will quickly refute their claims. The word morning with the U was created in the 1200s, but the word morning without the U was created in the late 1400s, right when our ancestors in the Americas were stolen and held as captives. I know a lot of people like to make fun of those that use the greetings, grand risings, calling them woke or hoteps. But words are powerful and they carry frequencies, which is why they are spelled. Therefore, if you are still mourning, you are in a lower vibrational frequency, and the joke's actually on you. So if you know this information and you continue to use the term good morning, you are a product of your own ignorance. Let me know in the comment section if you were aware of this fact. Also let me know when you plan to wake up from the spell and take your power back.
Very powerful. But I used to spell morning with a, like, totally different than how it's spelled now. And I think that's just, like, maybe because, like, my ancestors. So it's, like, certain stuff, like, I know. But I was like, gosh, like, that's really weird, because my grandma told me to say, my great-grandma told me the same thing. And, like, my great-great-great-uncle said the same thing. Like, we never said that. Like, don't ever tell me good morning. Like, it's offensive to say that to black people, like, to me in general. So if this has changed, why have I changed? Well, because my grandma died from Hebrew, and the transformation happened. I would say, like, I had a spiritual awakening to the point where I'm just living life and with love, and I can't do anything else besides do that. So, you know, but that's just my story, but just how it is. Okay, so now we're on to gender and what I identify as my gender and sexual orientation. I'm a woman. All day and tomorrow, I'm proud to be a woman. I have no problem with anybody else that has changed their sex or anything, but I'm a born woman biologically. I love men, but I am a woman. I have two videos here I want to show, short clips. They also talk about this term called cisgender. I don't like to be identified as that, because I'm not that person that you can play with when whatever you're on has nothing to do with me. I don't think that's fair to, like, people in the community to have to deal with things where people say that, like, we have to label as a cisgender, because back in the 80s and 90s and before then, before, like, this new transition goes, people that were gay were called sissies. So for you to call us a cis, that's kind of offensive to real women, especially in the black community. If you were gay, you were called a sissy, period. So this is one thing to talk about, because we're talking about my culture and the black culture. This is what was true. So listen to Tasha K talk.
Fighting two people already, a man and a trans girl, and then here come another cisgender women jumping on me.
I don't like that word, sis. I don't.
It just means, because I mean, women can be women, men can be men, but cisgender means biological female.
I've read it, and it's like I'm a woman. I don't need, it's like I don't need a woman. any,
It's
and
different
it seems
type of
like the
women.
LGBTQ more is now saying cis, and it's kind of like LGBTQC, and it's like
I learned it from I learned cisgender from a cisgender woman.
yeah. I don't like the terminology, and it's kind of like
I
don't like the terminology, and it's a woman.
And so you gotta say trans is a woman. Like so, okay, so if woman's
But you're a trans woman.
Like okay, so you're a cisgender woman.
No, I'm a woman.
So you're a cisgender woman.
No, I'm but you weren't born a woman.
Then I'm a woman. That don't mean anything.
But you weren't born a woman.
I'm a woman. That don't mean anything. Caterpillars. I'm a woman. They was not born a butterfly. Caterpillars. They had to blossom into their colors.
Okay, let's talk about that. Before all of this technology and science came in, you know, you didn't have access to these drugs and stuff, which I mean, I'm floored at what I'm hearing that teenagers can go down, like Sydney Star said, I paid $20 to a person in an apartment to inject me full of hormones. And that scares me. That scares me.
Yeah, that's crazy, but do give it an example of a butterfly. That's funny. Like, what? You cannot. No. But I do appreciate Tasha K because she does like clear the air for the Black community. Like, listen, as real women, we don't like that termination. It's very offensive. I was never a Candace Owens fan. And then I've just heard bad things about some Black people in high rank areas talk about Candace Owens. So I never really actually sat down and listened to her. But when I did, I was like, gosh, I love her because she's right. This is what I be saying. This is everything that I'm on. And so she does a thing where she's doing a question and answers at local colleges. I really wish she'd come here to our college. But she talks a lot about a lot of good things that I like to address. So,
I am a feminist. I do study specifically academia and the structure of academia and what that looks like for people of color. So in relation to free speech, like, do you feel that like free speech is free for everybody in terms of Western society, in the America that we live in today? And at what point does free speech no longer become free?
What do you mean? At what point does it become no longer become free?
Some rhetoric can be harmful to other communities, especially in the way that it's spread in the media, and I think that goes for both sides. But
can you give me an example? It's always easier to answer a question.
So like examples, always easier to answer a question. So like campus last year,
I'm not.
Happened on campus last year.
I'm not.
Look it up. So. Great, look it up. So it was just involving the feeling of LGBTQ members of the community feeling unsafe with rhetoric that's being shared in terms of transphobia.
Like if you're a man, I need an example, and someone like if you're a biological man and someone says, "Hey, what's up, dude?"
Biological man and someone says, "Hey, what's up, dude?" More of like there's students on campus that are living in communities where they don't feel safe because of rhetoric of explaining that transphobia isn't accepted. So my question is just like, how do you think free speech impacts everybody in the community?
Yeah, I mean, the idea that if somebody looks at a man and calls him a man, that they're suddenly unsafe because they've created a false reality in their own head. Yeah, I don't abide by that. I think this is what's really happening is that we are celebrating murders in America right now. I had a stalker, a very serious stalker at FBI ended up getting involved who had suffered from schizophrenia. He very much believed, and it was a terrifying thing to go through. He escaped the Psych 5150 hold, and he very much believed that he and I were in a relationship, and he would send me about 100 emails a day. Okay? In the world of what you believe in your own head now needs to be accepted as reality, I would have had to marry him and raise my children with him. Okay? But what was going on in his head wasn't actually reality. And me saying that this person needs to stay away from me and my family because there's something wrong with him and he was threatening to kill me if I didn't, raise my child with him. That was reality. That was something that had to be dealt with. So what's happening right now is the left is trying to make it seem that people who see reality for what it is are demented and are creating unsafe territory, and that's not the truth. In fact, what I think is unsafe territory is for people to be affirmed in their delusions. So I will never refer to a biological male as if that makes somebody feel unsafe, I'm not following you around. I don't know what happened on your campus. I wouldn't follow you around and say, hey, you're a male. Totally fine. Go live your life as you want to live your life. But when you say that the way that you live your life now has to impact me, and I have to pretend that I see a woman, when clearly you are I shouldn't have to play that game. That's all. Thank you very much.
That's all. Thank you very much.
And she's right. Like, I don't feel like I should have to go around when I don't see something different. So, next slide. So gender, how are gender and orientations differences handled in your family of origin? I would say my family, we talk, and we don't have anybody that became trans. I know there's a few people that are gay, like that dress up and be a woman, but we don't have anybody that's trans in our family. And I have a big family. We have a lot of gay people, but none of them are trans. I feel like when it comes to like somebody saying like, hey, I want to identify as this, like we don't care what you want to identify as, but if your name is Brad, you're going to be Brad. And I appreciate like the Black community for our directness and us making sure like these people are just people in general, meaning my family, these people. Like we know, like we let them know like this is what's real. This is not fake, and we're not going to go along with your delusion. I don't know what's wrong with you. We might even get together and pray with you. But when it comes to like, hey, you like men, you're a boy, it's okay. If you like girls, you like girls, like, and you're a girl, it's okay. But we don't do the, I'm going to call you a woman when we know that you were born as Brad or Bobby or whatever. We just don't do that in our family. And then most likely, this is why I feel like they try to target the Black community with this. And it's like, it's not as popular in the Black community, and it really hit the white community, which they were targeting the Black community to try to depopulate us. But it really hit the white community a lot harder than it did the Black community. So, so it says gender, how are genders? I have a video with, a famous drag queen of all times. Like if you ever watch Crooklyn, which is like a #1 Black movie, you have seen this transgender, a drag queen, what we used to call them back in the day, talk. So I just want to let Flame speak, okay?
Trans women are women. What are your thoughts?
Trans women are trans women. That's not said disrespectfully. Because my era, we were transvestites, drag queens, your man in the dress. We fought to have the title of trans women. Respectfully, trans men are trans men. That is not even a disrespect. It's this younger, new generation Z crazy that is not enough for. But let me just break something down to y'all real simple. If a woman is a social construct and we're emulating women, what would that make us? Social construction workers? To be truthful. And if biological women stop having sex, if biological women stop having babies, it won't be no more black, white, LGBT, fat, funny looking, and nothing else. I know y'all ain't gonna like the way I put it to you in the box, but when you find the lie, stop me. Because I have relationships with trans men that they identify as men, but they're biologically women. They think that, oh, Flame, you just pandering for the women. No, I know what a woman is. Woman is Mother Earth. We all came through the birth canal of a woman. All female impersonators, transgender, sex change, whatever. You did not learn how to be a female or act like a female watching somebody like you in a suit and tie. You learn from the woman that raised you, whether it be your mother, your auntie, your stepmother, whoever. But then when I get so comfortable in my gay or my transgender or whatever I decide to become, whatever's instilled in me, I'm better than you? No, I'm not better than you. You're still my sister. But I'm better than you now. That is the problem. We keep trying to dismiss women. You cannot dismiss a woman. Right. Like
and I like that. Like, first of all, like, I like this transgender, but this is, like, if you know anything about, like, the movie Crooklyn, like, Flame was in there, and what he's explaining is true. He's like, listen, like, even though I might say, I would never say that I'm a woman. I'm a trans woman. I'm never a woman because I can't be a woman because I can't have kids. We don't do that, and that's not fair that we are imitating someone. And, like, basically, this is how the Black community talks. And mind you, he's sitting on stage talking to an alpha male. And it's like, it's love. It's never offensive or anything. So I like that narrative that we can do that in the Black community and we can hear both sides. So next we have sexuality. How is sexism in your culture addressed? I feel like I kind of talked about that in a previous slides, but Candace Owens talks about a good thing about, like, she feels that right now the psychology stuff is really being broadcast and the community to the point where they're making hoism a thing. I feel like a lot of sexism started from slavery, so my opinion on that is a little bit different. But Candace Owens makes some great facts about psychology, and I know this is a psychology class, so I kind of want to play the clip.
Did you know that Sigmund Freud was a homosexual man whose best friend was a pedophile? Okay? You can be upset with me all you want, but that is absolutely a fact, and you should have been able to garner that really just from what he spoke about, what he wrote about. You can obviously understand the themes of children and sex. He was obsessed with it almost. He introduced concepts of children being sexual at birth, psychosexual development theory, the seduction theory, all surrounded around children. He had a very strange relationship, you can look this up, with his best friend, Wilhelm Fliess, who, if you're interested in Wilhelm Fliess, sexually abused his own son, Robert Fliess. Now, how do we know this? Candace, where are you getting this fact that wasn't introduced to me via the public education system? Well, I want you guys to look up, if you're interested, this scholar. His name is Dr. Jeffrey Masson, and he was the project director for the Sigmund Freud archives. He was on pace to become the director. He decided to learn German so that he could go through all of those Freud archives, and then he was quite disturbed by what he discovered. He said, wait a second, actually Sigmund Freud is covering up for his pedophile friends. This is the theory of Masson. And guess what happened after that? Masson was dismissed from his role as director altogether. He was dismissed from a person that was allowed to access the archives anymore, despite the fact that he has a Harvard PhD. He's done everything right. Just telling the truth seemed like an act that community was not willing to accept. And he says, release the archives. If I'm lying, release all of the archives. His theory is that when Freud realized, through his work, speaking with children, that a lot of them had been sexually assaulted, and that was leading to their various mental disturbances, Freud presented that information to his peers, and his peers got upset. So imagine you're Sigmund Freud and you go to your peers, all of these other sex pathologists and psychiatrists and psychologists, and you say, hey, just so you know, these kids that I'm seeing, they're disturbed because they were sexually assaulted. And then his peers were like, no, that can't be what happened. Among the peers that were upset with his thesis was renowned sex pathologist Richard von Krafft-Ebing. He was also a psychiatrist, of course. In case you're interested, he coined the term masochism. Richard also wrote books. He was particularly interested in homosexuality. His book, Psychopathia Sexualis, published that in 1886, he defined homosexuality as an innate neuropsychopathic disorder, essentially a hereditary nervous disease. And then he took that diagnosis to advocate for the decriminalization of homosexuality, arguing that homosexuals were not responsible for their malformation and that homosexuality was not contagious. He also wrote about sex and children, sex with children. In his book, General Pathology, in Chapter 5, he writes about sex crimes with children and uses the term, actually for the first time, pedophilia erotica. So yeah, it's interesting. And I should also note, because I have a compelling thesis myself, that during this time, yes, homosexuality was criminalized. It was something that was criminalized all throughout a lot of different countries. And so you could understand why men that were perhaps homosexual themselves would be perhaps writing theses to say, actually, none of this is a crime. So what did Freud do after he presents this information and the entire Vienna Psychiatric Society says, no, we don't like this thesis, when all of his friends are going, this doesn't work? Well, then Freud does a complete 180, and he starts blaming the children for their memories, positing theories that children were actually sexual by nature. And then the psychiatric community loved Freud. They were like, oh my God, you're so amazing. We're going to put you everywhere. This is just so contemporary and thoughtful. It's just groundbreaking.
And basically what she's saying too is like, to me, this goes back down to slavery, why America adopted Sigmund Freud's theory. Is because, yes, they were raping black children, raping and killing black people. So they want to make sure it's acceptable for the things that they did. And this is kind of like the proof of that when it comes to psychology. So that's just how I feel about sexism, especially when it comes to my culture and how it's addressed. You have Kanye West doing the same thing to white women that white men do to black women. They exploit them and make them show their bodies. So I guess his wife is showing her body. So I don't know. That's my opinion. Characteristics of genders. It says, what behavior, characteristic, beliefs, and values are defined by gender in your culture? I really feel like we don't really have like a set of behaviors and characteristics or beliefs and values. I feel like whatever you know what has to be done with black people, we have been in survivor mode for so long that every child has to do everything. No child is operating, oh, the girls just clean up the house, the boys take out the trash. Yeah, the boys start doing the heavy lifting, but little girls still have to do that too. So I don't feel like we have a definition that defines that. How is gender roles divided? That's basically what I just said. Like, I had to take out the trash. My brother had to take out the trash. Sometimes I like to take out the trash because that gives me a chance to go outside. I had to learn how to sweep the floor, so did my brother. So I don't feel like that we had to do anything like that. It says, this guy in this picture, he said he's black as fuck, professional as fuck, but will nuck if you buck. Like, I feel like that's just everybody, just because he's a man. Like, it's women too. Like, we will nuck if we buck too. We stand up for each other and stand up for the things that we like. So I feel like that's true too. So conflicts with gender roles. How is conflicts handled between gender roles? I feel like conflicts with gender roles in our community and within my family, like, I feel like we don't have really too much of a problem. Like, if a woman wanted to do a job, she can do a job. If she can't do it and we realize that she can't, we will talk to her. But I feel like gender roles, like, we don't really have a problem. Like, if someone says, like, hey, I want to identify as a woman, like, we're like, okay, but just know that sometimes I might slip up and say that you're a man because I see a man, but you can't be mad at that because I don't have that. So I feel like we handle that pretty good. So this man right here, Charlie Kirk, I kind of don't like him sometimes when he talks, but he's on point.
Who calls himself trans is wearing woman face no different than I would wear blackface trying to be a black woman.
I understand.
It's assuming an identity that isn't yours.
On that specific example, I think it's the intention behind it.
The intention is completely irrelevant. It's the action that we must judge.
Exactly.
Correct?
Well,
so if somebody robs a bank because they're poor, they should still go to jail, regardless if they're poor or rich. If somebody appropriates a womanhood identity, they could say, well, I just wanted to be happy, or I just wanted to win the NCAA championship because I wasn't able to compete against men. You should call them a cheater. So their intent, he said, not she. He said on ESPN,
Zia Thomas.
I just wanted to be happy. Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of happy cheaters out there. That's why we have standards.
I feel like you're giving a lot more malicious intent.
But it's irrelevant. They're doing something evil. It doesn't matter if they think they're doing good. Every evil force in the history of the world thinks they're doing good.
And he's particularly right. Like, when he used, like, if I dress up as a black person, can I do that? I heard one example, like, if I wanted to be a cat, are a lot of these people, human beings, going to tell me I'm not a cat or I'm a cat? So that's how I feel about that too. But I feel like, hey, if you want to dress up and be a cat one day, dress up. Like, I feel like in the black community, like, for an example, like, my son walked around with a Spider-Man suit. People used to be like, Spider-Man. Like, will we let that overthrow, like, who he really was? Like, no. It's a persona. And so at some point, like, some people need to know, like, multiple personality disorder. This is that. This mental health disorders are on display, and psychology people are backing this up. And so it's like, I don't know. But it is a good thing. So next we have marriage and children. How is marriage and children? What are some specific rules for marriage and child rearing in your culture? I don't like that rearing word. I feel like marriage and children with our family, we really push the fact of, like, black people should date black people. marriage, you should get married. Like, I don't know, like, we have a standard. There's a lot of black marriages. There's more black people married to black people compared to biracial people. I mean, interracial marriages. But I have a clip here. I know I got a lot of clips in this one because it's really important to really educate people on different things and help them see the things that we see in the black community and why sometimes the black community break up and how the government is against black people being together.
Do yourself a favor. Do not skip this video. Actually watch this video and share it with someone you love, care, and respect. It's 2024 and it's time to wake up, people. Run that video, comment below. And this is for educational purposes only. Run it.
They don't got abortion clinics at the border. They're telling us as American women, specifically black American women, we need to abort our children. But if you coming across the border with your baby, come to the land of milk and honey, the great land of opportunity. We'll take care of you. Joe Biden even said, I will give illegal immigrants coming across the border $400,000 a piece. Can you imagine if they were to go to that black single mother living in the hood, not even $400,000, offer $4,000, because I know some black women that can make something jump with $4,000. Offer her $40,000. You know why they'll never give us that? Because they know that we'll never need them again. Welfare reminds me of an old man I used to date. I was in a relationship with him for 11 years. He would never marry me, right? But whenever my bills were due, I would tell him he would give me just enough. He had a whole lot of money. He would give me just enough. Rent due, $1,200. He'd give me $1,200, not one cent over, because he knew that every month the rent was due, that I would have to come back to him. He wouldn't give me $100,000 and say, hey, baby, mom, dad, go buy you a house and start your business, because then he felt like I wouldn't need him. The government system is the same way when it comes to black Americans. They'll never give us enough to get over and get up. It's only enough to make sure we continue to come back every 30 days so that we can remain slaves to their system.
You gotta say more. Right, next slide is my age. What is my age? Technically, my age is 37. But before we got colonized, we were on the same calendar system as Ethiopia. So technically, I am like 29. I look 29, which is crazy. So that's my age. So it says examples. Consider some interactions with your peers. Give 2 examples of how you treat some of those different age groups, young children, your parents, and your grandparents. A few examples I would say was like maybe when I was in high school, being one of the only black people in my high school. I was literally the 1% they talk about. I always treated people with kindness no matter how they treated me. Like, no matter if they were throwing things at me because I was black, calling me niggers and stuff, I still remained solid and was very nice to people in general. So for the younger children, I am very nice to everybody, no matter what color you are. But to my black children, I really take my time out to really like love them a little bit more than what I do with other people, because they really need love, like, and be shown love and be shown compassion. Compared to anybody else, I feel like we have had it the worst. And not disputing anybody else, but it's true. But even like with my grandparents, my great aunts and uncles, they do this thing where they make us say yes ma'am and no ma'am, and I'm like, this is slavery talk. Like, because a lot of times the reason why older black people be really on manners is because, like, if they didn't say yes ma'am, like a white people would kill them. Or they didn't say no sir, yes sir, white people would kill them. So a lot of times this is what happens in our community, where it gets passed down. This is ancestral, so I don't really implement that with my child or with other little kids. I'm like, just say yes to me. Like, you don't have to call me a ma'am or no ma'am. Like, you can just be formal, because as long as you're respectful in your talk, then I'm okay with that. But once it comes to disrespect, then that's, the real problem. So it says, how does your age affect your experience in your family? I feel like my age doesn't really matter in my family, because everybody, your voice is heard. We hear the younger children out. We hear all the children. We make sure that they're heard. There's a lot of things where people get touched, raped and stuff, and it gets thrown under the rug. And sometimes, like, having that open communication, you're able to experience and talk about the situations that happen in your family. How has your degree of ability and accessibility shaped you as a person? For example, are you bodied? I would say, like, I'm a strong, healthy person. Like, I rarely get sick. I probably get sick maybe like twice a year because the seasons change. But I move around, I run, I exercise all the time. So, but, I don't know. My grandma and them, they're all strong. Like, my grandma and them in their 90s. And she has 16 brothers and sisters. And out of 16 brothers and sisters, only 4 of them died. So, yeah, I don't know. So, personal relationships. Think of people in your life when you were a child and adolescence, and can be anybody. I would say, like, the person that really may impact me with some of my relationships will kind of be, like, my grandparents on, like, all of my sides, my mom and my dad's side, like, because they really talked to us. They really told us the truth about a lot of things that maybe the American government didn't really keep it real about. And so I kind of know somewhat of the truth. Does it make sense? And, like, some of my peers, I would say, like, my high school was very impacting for me. Like, we changed racism in a school. So I was really happy about that. Like, a shout out to the class of 05 of Harrison High School. So, yeah. Now, birth order. How has birth order affected me? I feel like it affects my family because we come from a big family, and whoever's the oldest, usually they really go in with the oldest. I think this is a thing that isn't always a part of Black culture. I just think it's a part of every culture. Study theories and personality, it states this, like, you know, the oldest usually has to say so and different things like that. But I'm kind of more like a baby in the baby bunch and my parents, but I'm also the middle child. So I'm like the start of the baby bunch, but the middle child. So I can see both point of views of what to do, what not to do, what I can get away with, what I can't. I don't know, like, cause then I'm like the second oldest, and then it's like, okay, like, I don't live up to some of the oldest stigmas in psychology, what they talk about. So I don't know if that's true or not, but, you know, that's just what it is. So I have a video here, too, about birth.
African Americans were called East Indians in the early 1900s. So what really is African American? Let's really think about that.
That's crazy because the lady on that picture, she looks black. And Geechee people, our hair is like really long, wavy, and curly. So it's like really weird that people say what they say. So, like, my family's hair is real fine. Like, my grandma's and them, all her brothers and sisters, like, their hair is fine. Like, you can take a comb through my hair. Like, it's crazy. You'd be like, really? Like, yeah. But my grandma, my one aunt, you can't even comb her hair. That's my grandma's sister. You can't, like, to braid her hair, you have to do something different to get it to stay because her hair is so fine. And she doesn't perm her hair. All right. So it says, do you remember the times? What do you remember about their attitudes and feelings towards multicultural and diverse populations? What my great uncle, which is my grandma's older brother, told me about why he wouldn't date someone that was my skin color, even though he knows I'm black. He said he wouldn't date someone my skin color because back in the day he almost died. He used to talk to this girl, and she was kind of like my tone. And he was like, you would get in trouble back in the day if you spoke to someone like my skin color. And so he said that he would never date someone my color, but he loves me as his niece, and he would ride or die out for me, but he just wouldn't date somebody my skin color. And he was like, I'm beautiful, don't ever forget that. But he educated me on, like, what it was like back in the day if they were to speak to someone, like they could most likely get hung and stuff like that. So I think my family's feelings towards that was kind of more like, if we talk to certain people, we can't really speak about it. Half the time it was told to not do such a thing. So my family really, like, because we have a lot of biracial people, like my first cousins are biracial. So how I feel like with multicultural, like they just like, okay, well, here go these white people doing this again. Like, oh, here go these colonizers. And I don't know, like my family, we just really want to be left alone, if that makes sense. It says, what did you overhear them saying about multicultures and diverse groups? I just talked about that. What events can you remember that involve personal contact with diverse groups? I would say well, that was about my family, like my grandfather was like, he would never trust a white person because like they're one of the most sneakiest people in the world. And then like once you see what all white people do and how they have done black people or done people around the world, this is what's sickening, is that white people do this around the world to people. It's horrible. So I don't know, but when it came to like me graduating from the all-white high school, my grandfather and grandma was there, and they was like really happy that I graduated. And like this was like one time they actually sat down and they didn't have a problem with any white person that was there, if that makes sense. Also something that's important to know, that my family, they talk about the Salem witch trials, and they said that they wasn't burning white women. My great uncle said that. He's like, that wasn't white women, they was burning black women. And this girl came up with a thing that she was reading, and my one friend, like, she's a direct descendant of this particular person. She's black, and she's like, her family finds this very offensive that white people keep saying that they're from Salem witch trials.
You ever hear people talk about the Salem witch trials and wonder, like, I wonder what they look like. Well, you already know what I'm saying. They was black. A woman from Barbados named Tituba came to America as a prophet. She was a high priestess, and if you're not familiar with what that is in spirituality, basically it's someone that holds a lot of spiritual power, a lot of spiritual wisdom, knowledge to spread to other people, with the full intention to teach people how to step into their divine power and become one with the universe. That was all that she was doing. So that's what she did. She came to America. A couple of women were attracted to her. They became high priestesses of their own, practicing and also leading more people into who they were supposed to be spiritually. And of course, some white lady got jealous and they tried to say she got scared. And they burnt Tituba and all of her followers at the stake. And it's important to know that this person, this woman, Tituba, was not white. It is common knowledge that in Black history, black women, black people were hung, not white women. That's historical. And I'm not sure what the statistic is. I'm not going to quote it, but I can tell you a very, very, very low amount of white women were hung. Okay. Also, white women were typically burned or shot or they say other. But yeah, keep that fact in mind. So yeah, that's just the truth about Salem witch trials. So next time somebody say, "Oh, we're the daughters of the witches," girl, you the daughters of the snitches, unless they black. But if you're new here, give me a follow. I do Black history with my own personality. So if you like this, I like you. Follow me.
And a lot of this truth has been coming out. Do you remember the times? And they actually have pictures of like how she was black and different things. But she is right. Like, how can you be the descendants of the witches if they burned them all? You're right. Sure, you're right. But that's just that. All right. So now major topics with relationship. How were racism, genderism, ageism, classism addressed? I feel like racism, like, we take it head on as a black community. Like, we either can hit you with a professional tone or we can go there with you. A lot of racism happened to me at high school. Like, prime example, my high school, even though they were all white, my class, shout out to '05. What happened was, it's crazy, but it's true. Basically, we were at this thing where in school that they would allow us to listen to music at lunchtime. But they would only allow us to listen to country stations and different things like this. But everybody at my school liked the rap music, okay? Because all the white people, they like hip-hop, okay? They like music that sound good. So they were getting mad and be like, hey, well, Nikita's black. Why can't we listen to this? That's not fair to her that we're not able to listen to black music, like she's black. And so they took a stand with us and like acted a fool. Not me, but them. But they ended up blaming it on me, even though I was not the ganglanger. But because I was black, I got blamed. And that's racist. And all the white people went in, like, she didn't say anything. It was us, like, we did it, like, we the one that threw this and that. So they took a stand. A lot of times the older classmen from my school, because the only black people that actually graduated from my school, they all hung them before they graduated. So I am thankful that I made it out alive, and I helped like a lot of black people now that are in that area be able to survive and get around. So I feel like actually addressing it, but having some white people that are there for you is important too. But I thank God, like, God's on my side. My angels and ancestors was rocking with me, baby, that time. But a lot of white people stood up for me. Another way how we address racism, I don't know, a lot of people know that the Baltimore Bridge just collapsed. They attacked this black mayor who came out of his house at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, like dressed like a normal person. I'm not gonna put on a suit to come outside. Are you serious? Like, but he puts on for Baltimore and his community. And Baltimore is pretty much a black community. But make a long story short, they were attacking him, calling him a DEI mayor. So take a look at this.
We can go ahead and add DEI to the list of things that white people say when they really mean the N-word. The United States of America has the most unserious citizens per capita than any country on this planet. Yesterday, as you all know, a ship crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, Maryland. People lost their lives. People, hardworking construction workers that were doing a thankless job, lost their lives. Mayor Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore, and his glorious afro got out of bed in the wee hours of the morning to address the people and to help mourn the lives that were lost. And people got on the internet and gave not a damn about the lives that were lost, not a damn about the tragedy, but looked at Mayor Scott and said, this is a DEI mayor. Looks like the kind of guy who tried to bum a cigarette from you outside the gas station. The mayor asked him for $1 this morning. Looked like they scooped him up from the basketball court where he slings. Mind you, this is all because he didn't wear a three-piece suit at 5 o'clock in the morning. I genuinely think that America is the greatest country of all time.
And it's so crazy because how he responded, he said, y'all still over here worried about what I'm dressed like when I'm trying to worry about finding these people. And so that's a great response to how like black people dress the racism and like how they treat him as a black man in his age for him being so young, and they thinking like he was young. They even attacked him because of his age and his classism, like because he was black. Like what? Like, so he did a very good job at responding back. You should go look up the clip about how he responded back. It was pretty good, and I was like, ooh. But they should have not been attacking him because he was black and had an afro. And he's young. Social norms. Who determines the social norms and rules of your family? I feel like my great grandma set that up. And when she passed away, like everybody just started doing their own thing, like out of their intermediate. So we have family in Kentucky and Ohio, and we call my grandma and them her brothers and sisters, the brothers and sisters. So the ones in Kentucky did their thing, and the ones in Ohio did their thing. But we sometimes blend together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But for the most part, like I feel like out of like my intermediate family, my granddad and my grandma both did a great job with like on my mom's side doing that. My dad's side, I don't really know too much besides a few things, but I feel like, well, my grandma, with her being Native, she did a lot of things that are Native to her. Friend group. So, how many of your friends, longtime friends, were a member of the multicultural and diverse group? A lot of my friends were. I have friends, white people, Mexican people, Hispanic people. One of my friends, I nicknamed her Dora, and she's Mexican. She's so funny. She's from Texas, and like, I don't know. I was just one of the people that had a lot of friends. Like, I was popular, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of people like, you know, you were popular. I'm like, yeah, I kind of was, but this makes perfect sense. So it says, in what ways, if any, were these friendships different forms? Other friendships you had. I feel like my relationship with my white friends are a little bit different than my black friends, because my black friends, they love me because I was me. My white friends love me because I was me, but there's certain things that I can say to my black friends that I probably can't say to my white friends. I don't know. My white friends cool. So they actually understand racism in Ohio and what we went through. So I feel like all my friends were like, I could be me in front of all of them. It's just that sometimes I had to be in survivor mode because of the area that I was in, especially in the white community. You never know when a black person, when a white person would attack you. I'm burning crosses in my yard as a child and different stuff like that with the KKK members, putting hoods up and doing like horrible things to like me and my family. Like, I feel like me not like being biased towards white people is like the blessing of it all. Like, I can see the love in you, basically. But I don't know. Like, a lot of my white friends became friends with my black friends. A lot of my black friends became friends with my white friends. I had to have a moment with one of my friends because she was attacking one of my white friends, and I was like, "Look, she didn't rape you. It was the other group of people. You need to address your energy the correct way." But I'm not gonna let no black person take it out on white people all the time. Like, well, black people don't really do that, but so only white people target people because of their skin color and different things like that. So yeah, what a great time to be alive, to be black. Being a black woman, we're working on telling people to stop calling us strong black women, because when you call somebody strong, you feel like you can't help them. The only people that you help is weak people. So the reason we had this talk in the black community, and I feel like this kind of ties into like what I was just talking about. Take a listen.
That trope only exists for, I feel like, black women. I don't ever hear strong Asian woman. I don't ever hear strong white woman. I don't ever hear strong woman of any other ethnicity / race. But I'll always hear strong black women. And usually, I always hear the strong black woman trope in a sense of, the disrespect, the prejudice, the colorism, all of these terrible, experiences that black women have. Yeah, because they're strong black women, they can better deal with it. That's the problem.
I mean, I had chills when you said that we don't put strong in front of other
races. We don't.
And I think that is profound, that you have called that out.
And that's crazy that we have to keep having this narrative of people not really understanding. And I'm glad that black women are waking up. The millennials, we stand on business. Like, listen, stop calling us a strong black woman. It's very offensive. We are elegant. We're proud to be who we are. I just don't think that we should be called strong, because, like that man said, like it's a real disrespect to black women. So more black women standing up saying this is a blessing. So next we have events. What significant events have affected your family and the closest to you? I feel like the events that have affected my family, our land being stolen, them killing my ancestors, we having to deal with like being passed down. Like, one of my grandmas, she killed a baby because our native tribe, it's like you can't have sex with your brother, and so they made the brother and sister have sex, and they had a baby, and so they killed the baby before the baby came in because they didn't want the baby to be of sin. Do I think my grandma went to hell? No. But I do feel like these things that happen to Black people have impacted us as in general, and it's still like things that we have to heal. We have to have certain people come in to heal these things, so in order for us to grow and be better. So I have a few videos that I would like to play.
What made you think? What made you get into believing, or when your eyes started being open, that you thought, that you came across and believed, or even knowing that the slave trade did not take place?
The ship narrative doesn't make sense. The slave ship narrative is it defies all logic. They said we was packed in the hull of the ship like sardines, man to man, foot to head. Right? And the construction that they was using for the wooden ships back then, that's a gas chamber in 2 days. You gotta remember, you got 9 seafaring people on the ocean. What happened to you when you get seasick? Don't you get nauseous?
Absolutely.
So that means you're going to be throwing up. So it's going to be vomit. It's going to be full of vomit down there because there's a whole bunch of people that's not seafaring. Right? Then, to take it a step further, you're going to have bathrooms. Ain't no bathrooms. But where they shitting and pissing at? Back then, they used to shit on something called the poop deck. And this is where you get your term swab the deck. That means go clean the bathroom, motherfucker. There's shit everywhere. But if you got that many people shackled and chained, you can't run bathroom breaks enough for everybody to get relief. So it's going to be a whole lot of buildup of fecal matter and urine in the hull of the ship. Anybody that just smelled hot piss know that ammonia going to be kicking. You ever smell a bottle of ammonia?
Yes.
Okay, imagine that shit everywhere. It's a gas chamber. This is supposed to be a 90-day journey. It's only a 2-week journey from Europe to New York. I gotta pay attention.
Right.
It's a 2-week journey from Europe to New York. It's a 90-day journey from Africa to the Islands, where they call the Middle Passage.
In the 15th.
That don't make no fucking sense.
What did they eat? What kind of water did they drink? Who went down there and could smell that and feed people and give them water?
Right. And can I ask a question to back up that? This really quick goes to you, John. When it's saying, they're experiencing all these like gas chamber conditions, like you're saying, but they were strong enough to make it across many of them died. But they said that as far as original people that look like us that were on these lands, most of them died off because of the diseases that the Europeans brought along. Can you talk about that? Some of how they tried to vote like 90% of the original people died off?
That's a convenient story to separate your identity away from the land. It's more likely that the people on the slave ship died off than the people from the land died off. Basic logistics and basic critical thinking would tell you that. If we in the open air, they in the closed chamber. It's a difference, right? So some of us probably did die off from the diseases that the Europeans brought.
They died off from the
We still dying from shit that they brought. Why we ain't stopped dying from the shit that they brought if we still here? I'm Mississippi clay dirt walking. I know where I'm from. My roots go right down that Mississippi River. Mississippi red clay dirt walking. You can smear me with it, and if you didn't know that I was smeared with it, you wouldn't even know I had dirt on me. I know where I'm from. It's not a secret. And the earth tells me where I'm from by the residence of what we call the nativity. The nativity of the Christ. The anointing. The anointing is the oils. The oils are in the ground that's telling us where we come from. But we want to go with the narrative that other people tell us who he is, rather than following what our ancestors told us. Here's the thing, go to roots. Fiddler is telling the people, when Kunta Kinte get there, this is the African Guinea nigga. See, we don't know nothing about no Africans. We was already here. Why is this in the slave movie? Why is this Fiddler saying we don't know nothing about no Africans? Right? So they telling you, but they still shrouded in a fairy tale. So we don't have a personal issue with Africans. Because they got done the same way we did. But I can tell you this, in the 1800s, they took some of us and set up a whole nation over there called Liberia.
You better talk.
So we know they took us over there. And we know that all of the Africans that I didn't talk to, none of them have it in their historical record of mass amounts of people being extracted from the land. It don't exist. But what you do have is 10 to 12 here and there being snatched up by Arab slave traders before they rallied the troops. Right? That's been going on long before the slave trade. The Arabs started that shit, the Jews financed it, and Europe carried it out. But we didn't know that the Europeans carried it out looked like us, because they whitewashed them in the history books, so we could always look at the paleface as the guilty culprit. When they just used the paleface to keep us out of institutions. So Big Mama said, don't worry about it, bring them all over here, the ones they don't want, and we gonna educate them and send them in to overrun their institutions and put the secrets out in the open. So when Noble Ali came, he gave them the green light. What happened? We had something called the spiritualist movement in the 1900s. Where they was doing the rapping and tapping on the tables to tell us in the future what was going on in the past. So when we picked up hip-hop, we started rapping and tapping on the tables and spitting the past out in the present. It's the old conjure. That's from New Orleans. That's the whole rapping conjure is a New Orleans-based conjure from root magic in the deep woods of the motherfucking Louisiana bayou. That's where it comes from with the old juke joints. This is where jazz comes from. Rock and roll, bluegrass, country music. It all comes from that conjure because we always believed in putting the message on the drum. And all of them needed the drum. Except for Scott Joplin. He used the piano because that's what they brought with them when they came from Europe. They didn't never expect that we would be able to learn to master the piano and come up with our own music that made that classical music sound like shit. So Scott Joplin said, let me ever go at it. And they called it ragtime. And it was the birth of the music industry, selling his sheet music for a penny a page. And he wasn't getting a dime of it. Old sharecropper agreements. You created and we gonna capitalize on it. Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity with a key on the kite. He didn't get fried. Make that shit make sense. He would have been Rose Cracker if that motherfucking lightning would have hit the key with that string on there. They forgot. Lightning followed the path of least resistance. The key becomes a conductor and the electricity shoots both ways up the string. And we supposed to believe that shit? The first automobiles being made over here, they credited to a paleface. But it was brothers who was already driving cars in the 1800s first. They the ones who was creating those cooked up engines. They still got the flyers. You can find the flyers from the brothers' cars that was back then. They want us to not know who he is, but we always know our handiwork if we the salt of the earth. What do salt do to your food? Don't it balance out all the flavors? Okay, so what do we use to balance out the society? We use arts and entertainment. And this is how they brought the sharecropper agreement into the entertainment industry. So they can capitalize on the natural expression of the people and monetize that shit for themselves and their self-gain.
Hey, remember, I have no motive. I really do it for the people. So go follow me on We the People TV. Oh, and remember, knowledge is key. I'm out.
Crazy, but it's true. He dropped some facts in here, so I feel like significant events, or is the slave trade one, like the slide they showed. Also significant events right here was how Black Americans were robbed of $1 billion after slavery. This is very important.
Black American freedom history we should all know. Did you know that Black Americans placed billions of dollars in today's money in the Freedmen's Bank after slavery and experienced one of the biggest robberies of our black dollars in history because of it? Now, after slavery, Black American freedmen were promised 40 acres and a mule for their economic dependence, but never got it. Whites substituted the land that our ancestors were due with a bank in which they could save and build wealth for themselves. Now, Black Americans began putting the little they had in the bank, but as soon as they did, white President Henry Cook began stealing the hard-earned money of our ancestors by gambling, investing in railroad bonds, and even presenting numerous loans to his friends and family. He would steal so much that he would eventually bring the bank into a state of destitution. After, whites returned to Frederick Douglass to fix the problem, and he tried, but the damage was done. The bank declared bankruptcy and in 1874 was officially closed. At the date of closing, money was due to 61,000 black depositors. None of our freedmen family were ever given back.
So they were never given back the money. It's crazy. So these are significant events that happened to black people. Like, hey, where's our stuff? Where's our land? There's a lot of land that people built over and destroyed black property that were black built, that were already here thousands of years. So anything that can prove that, they try to take that away from our land. All right, so class and geographic. What is your social economic history of your family? Now, I do not like this question. I don't feel like black people should ever answer this question. This question is made for white people to see where black people stand. It's a biased question towards black people. So the history of my family, I don't know. I feel like you want to call us rich, baby, we rich. We've been rich. We're going to continue to be rich no matter what they take from us. God going to always replace it back. That's even in the Bible. So I don't know. Like, my grandma started a health clinic in Cincinnati, donated some money for that. My great uncle donated $2 million to the Urban League in Cincinnati. So I don't know. What role or meaning does social economics have for people with your background like you? I don't feel like black people should answer this question. I feel like we are on a different level. We should never be classified if they have taken from us and have to answer this question. Wherever we at, that's where we at. A lot of black family members don't really put their money in banks. And that is why the last slide told you why we don't put money in banks, why older black men, like in their 90s and 100s, 70s, don't put money in a bank, because that happened and they never funded it back. So we don't do that no more. The next question is, if your social economic history is different now, how did that transfer? I'm rich. I can go anywhere I want to, so I don't know. It depends on how you view that, and I don't know the social standards for economics for white people because I'm not white. So here we go. Here go another video for you.
White colonizers didn't like sharing things, and they knew the quickest route to gentrification was to completely submerge cities underwater. So we're going to discuss the 6 black towns that have been buried because Black History Month is important. And I am late because my children keep bringing home the flags, and no one is more sorry about that than I am. So by the late 1800s, there were many black towns that were thriving. It was still tough post-emancipation, but they were coming together, they were bonding, and creating these flourishing communities. Amber Ruffin covers this phenomenon of the disappearing black towns. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most well-known spots, but probably not the well-known history of Oscarville, which was built in Forsyth County, Georgia, under what is now known as Lake Lanier. Oscarville was born out of the post-Reconstruction era. Not all of the residents were black, but most of them were. And by 1910, there were 1,100 black residents living there. 58 of them were landowners, landowners. Over 100 were renting farms to grow crops on. It was a mostly agricultural community. They were well known for the production of their poultry, and the area was also a recreational area for boating. As was the case back then, all it took was for a group of white people to accuse a group of black people, and an angry mob ensued, and the town was burned down. Thousands of people fled in fear for their lives because their entire livelihood had just been burned down to the ground. In the 1950s, roughly 40-ish years after the white people pushed the black residents out of Forsyth County, out of their small community of Oscarville, the Army Corps of Engineers built Lake Lanier, which resulted after a dam was built, and it's like a whole process involving hydroelectricity that I'm not going to get into today. Whatever wasn't burned in 1912 in Oscarville was eventually flooded over, so remnants of the town still exist today under Lake Lanier, and that is why I would never willingly go swimming in Lake Lanier.
Crazy. And then you have white people that still try to go swimming in Lake Lanier and they die and wonder why, because this is people, its ancestors haunted. Stay out. And then they put a whole little water park over there. Like, why did they do that? That's so weird to me. So, all right. So next we have, what was popping in your family? What were music, arts, and clothing preferences liked in your family? I would say like the hairstyle right there. Braids were sacred. We used to braid to teach people passage, how to leave and be free. We're also known for creating any American music that's created. Rock and roll, country, hip hop, rap, R&B, like that's created by Black people. This right here is a straw hat that's created by Geechee people. We love our hats. Geechee people love their hats. Tobacco and cotton is a Geechee thing, which is Black people that we own. So pretty cool. Next we have political standards. What were the political preferences of your family? My family really typically didn't like to vote because they felt like it didn't matter if Black people voted or not, because they don't own us and we do our own thing anyway. So that was like kind of the political stance. How did this come to be in your family? I feel like just through the transformation of everything that happened and the government not really doing anything when it comes to harming Black people. So I feel like that's kind of how this made this happen. What do you think this political preference reflects about your heritage or culture? I would say, like, we still feel the same way. We don't care whether it's Republican or Democrat. Like, is it really for the Black people? If it is, where's our reparations? Where's our land that you owe us? You killed our ancestors, so we're going to need some of that. You displaced us, moved us to different places around the world and in the United States. So what is your political preference now? I really don't have a political preference. I do try to go out and vote because it's my right to vote. President doesn't mean anything to me. I want to make sure I always vote for like Congress and stuff like that, because they who is, make the law. So now have sports and Black people, and what Black people say, we're tired of them calling us African American. And this is Floyd, one of the greatest boxers to ever do it, besides Muhammad Ali. But Floyd Mayweather.
Not only are you African American, you're African American and female in a town where those are tough cards to draw.
I mean, why do we constantly call each other African Americans? When we go out there and go on the front line and fight the war, we're Americans. When we go in the Olympic Games, we're Americans. But now when we come home, we're African Americans. I don't understand. We're Americans. We built this land.
Preach.
Absolutely. We can be Black American, but we're Americans. We built this land. A lot of times we say we're African American, and a lot of us in this country don't know nothing about Africa. I mean, I've never seen none of us compete against, when the Europeans come to America, we don't call them European Americans.
Hope y'all catching these gems being dropped. Hope they're catching them.
So, well, look, I mean,
and just whenever they want to separate us.
Yeah.
When we commit a crime, we're African American.
Yeah.
When they want to separate, but when we do something good,
we go to the Olympics, you're American.
We're in America, because when we get that medal, we're in America. So that's the difference.
That's good. Hey, now listen,
you can't call me. I can't be this one day to be something the next day. Only when it's beneficial to you. That's when I'm an American.
And are you a black fighter or are you the GOAT? Right? Are they saying, oh, he a black GOAT? The greatest of all time. Right?
What color the goat is?
But she's right. So he doubles down and does another interview.
I'm always going to be known as a black American. I can't call myself an African American because when they want to separate us, then they say we are African American. But remember this: when I'm competing in the Olympics, I didn't compete on the African American Olympic team. I competed on the American Olympic team. So don't separate me when you want to separate me.
So I have another slide. All right, so I have a video here from Terrence Howard. He's a black actor, and it's about taxes for black people.
Terrence Howard may have ate just a little bit with this. He apparently owes nearly $1 million in back taxes, and his response for not paying is that it's immoral for the U.S. government to charge taxes to the descendants of slaves. So the IRS has been trying to collect their coins from Terrence Howard since 2010, and then the Justice Department sued him in 2022. Now, in response to that, Terrence Howard left a voicemail for the lawyer on that case. And that voicemail said, allegedly, quote, 400 years of forced labor and never receiving any compensation for it. Now you have the gall to try and prosecute and charge taxes to the descendants of a broken people that you are responsible for causing the breakage. Then apparently the tax attorney's voicemail cut off. But Howard was like, oh no, I'm going to finish this message. So then he calls right back and continues, and he says, quote, in truth, the entire United States should by default become the property of the descendants of slaves. But since you do not have the ability or the courage to do it, let's try this in court. We're going to bring you down. And now, considering this is happening right now, the last two living survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre are still fighting for their reparations since 1921. So I'm not saying Terrence is right, but is he wrong? Well, I don't think that black people should pay taxes either. So, all right, next to my last slide. This right here is my last slide, and it's fun facts about black culture. This girl, because she started a trend. People always, attacking black people. But this lady backs up scientific proof, which is a fact. Like, it's crazy because I just talked about this in psychology about this study that she's talking about in one of my classes.
Now, are there certain black people that just don't like us because we're white?
My undergrad degree is in biology pre-med, and so I'm going to answer this from a scientific standpoint. You should look up the term epigenetics. Evolution requires you to recognize a repeated threat to your life in order to survive. And no, this is not just some shit I feel strongly about. This is not an opinion. This is fact-based, evidence-based research data. Hold on a second. So one of the more popular experiments that was done on this was done with mice. What they did was take a cage full of male mice and they blew the scent of cherry blossoms into the cage. And then while they blew the scent of cherry blossoms into the cage, they also shocked the mice. So now the mice, their brain would associate shock with the smell of cherry blossoms. Then they sent those male mice off to mate with female mice that had not been exposed to the electroshock, and then their progeny, when cherry blossom scent was blown into their cages, reacted as though they had been shocked, even though they had not been exposed to the electroshock. And here in the article, it talks about that, about how your DNA doesn't change, but certain signals on certain genes, those things change due to the environment you've been living in and due to the trauma that your ancestors passed down. So it will affect how you react when you are exposed to those repeated threats. to those repeated threats. American black people, okay? So American black people were exposed to the traumas of slavery all that time, then exposed to the trauma of segregation, Jim Crow laws all this time, and are still to this day exposed to more racial traumas. We've always said, the police brutality is not new. Only the camera phones are, sweetheart. So you tell me what you think. Is it that they don't like you, or is it a survival mechanism? Now, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying this to excuse bigotry from black people towards other racial groups, because we are all called to evolve past our traumas, right? However, I am saying it's way deeper than somebody not liking you. And at the end of the day, we didn't start the fire, baby. We didn't start the fire, baby.
Because we didn't. And so this is what we're talking about, ancestral healing and things that we have to heal from. It's been passed down for hundreds of years, more than hundreds of years, 400 years. And we having to deal with some of the stuff. But then we have people asking, do we not like some white people? I don't even think that, it's not that we don't like white people. I just think that we're just tired of the racism and we want to be left alone. So here we go for another video about my Haitian friend hit me onto this. So
they want you to think that that's what the Arawak look like, because they don't want you to know that this is what they look like. These are the original Amaru Khans. These are the original Olmec sheep. These are our ancestors. These are called the Olmec Colossi. Colossi from colossal. And these are massive stone carvings of white people. I mean, this guy looks pretty white, right? I mean, this is a white dude, right? No? This is a white dude, right? Okay, well, okay. These are black people. And they're carved out of one solid piece of basalt rock. Basalt is the second hardest rock on earth. First hardest is granite, which is what the pyramids are made out of. And they've dated these heads, and they estimate that they're somewhere between 16,000 to 20,000 years old. Stop and think about that, beloved. 20,000 years ago, a race of black people excavated massive granite rocks out of the mountains. Sorry, basalt rocks. And then etched themselves into these rocks. What kind of technology would they have had to be able to do this 20,000 years ago? Because it wouldn't have been a copper chisel. So, the point I'm making is, most of our ancestors were already here. Alright? They had been here for tens of thousands of years, as I'm going to prove. Historians have discovered what they were called. They were called the Amaru. Amaru. This is where the term America comes from. It doesn't come from Amerigo Vespucci. It came from the Amaru, because they knew who was here originally. And another name for them is the Olmec sheep. Well, guess what? Sheep, Mexico. That's where the term Mexico comes from. So if you talk about Americans or Mexicans, you're talking about our ancestors. And they inhabited the entire region, as I showed you, North, Central, and South America, and the Caribbean. They are the real Amerindians that I was taught in high school, and they were black people. You don't know them because Europeans gave them other names, just like they made up the name Arawak from the Arawak. They made up all these other names to keep you from realizing that everything in the Americas is you. Every artifact they find is you. Every monument they find, you built. But instead they tell you it's Maya, and Inca, and Aztec, and Toltec, and Taino, and Carib, and Arawak. These are all names they made up. Understand that.
So that's how I feel about the black culture. And this is the end of my PowerPoint. I hope you really enjoy learning about my culture, the black culture, and little things that I have learned and researched for myself and what I was taught growing up as a child. And thank you. This is Nikita Murphy, okay?